Hello and welcome to Mostly Minnesota Music Podcast Edition. I'm Ann Tracy. I'm here with my co-host,
Heather Baker.
Yes, and we're not so much music today, we're arts today, we're theater today. I'm super excited to have a couple of the performers and a couple of the really directors to everything from zAmya Theater. We've got Lurch here, we've got Lurch Hellfire, and we've got Annette Bryant. Thank you both so much. Annette. And I knew I was going to do that. Annette. I knew with that name I was going to do that. Annette Bryant. Sorry about that. Can I have you guys, maybe Lurch, can you tell us a little bit about zAmya?
Oh, sure. And it's, zAmya means aiming for peace. And basically, we do theater and we work with the homeless. We do workshops. We've been lately doing work. We've been getting funding, doing a lot of work with the library. We've worked with the DID in the last few years, and we're all about basically talking about homelessness and telling the real story. And just, I mean, we're about telling the story of homelessness in more of a real, honest fashion than just the stereotypes told.
Nice.
I mean, Annette, you want to add to that?
So I want to say that we work with homeless and those that are not homeless. Also, like some of our troop, some of us have been homeless before, and some of them haven't been homeless before. And we also work on social issues, like social justice injustices that may be happening even right now.
Nice. Now, normally, I feel like you guys do maybe 2 or 3 shows a year.
I think about 3, right, Lurch?
Yeah. Usually 3, about 2 or 3 shows a year. Sometimes we'll even do road shows where we go out of the city and travel. One year we went all the way up to, what is it? We went up into Alexander. I don't remember the city. It's stuck in my head, but we do road shows sometimes. Yeah, we do. We go everywhere.
Well, and I like the way you guys develop theater because you really workshop it from. So tell me a little bit about when you decide you're going to do a new show, what is the process for figuring out what you're going to do and who's going to do what?
So one of the areas, so when we do our performances, we actually have different workshops and we do writings, and then the writings are collected and put into the role as a play. So then we perform. If it's about us, we perform our own roles. And if others are also writing and they want to also perform, they are also welcome in to perform.
Nice.
We also, if the person's okay with their story being used, then we'll ask them permission to do that. But we really write the story. We write the stories of the community. We really work for and with the community when we put our plays and pieces together.
That's one of the things I've really enjoyed about it is you get a unique perspective, which I think is fascinating. I'm going to shift gears just a little bit and ask you both to introduce yourselves and kind of how you got involved. And Annette, maybe we'll start with you this time. Tell us a little bit about you and how you got involved.
Well, hello, my name is Annette Bryant. And so may I just ask you a few questions? So do you want to know just my role in zAmya or actually who I am in life?
Of course we want to know a little bit about who you are in life too, but whatever you're open to discussing would be great. I mean, it's great. Part of the reason I like the theater and I like zAmya, especially the workshopping, is you feel like you do get to know people a little bit. That's always fun.
Yeah. Okay, yes. So I am a healer, a healing expert, and I work with women and girls on their sex and sexuality journey. I'm an author, a poet, and a graphic designer. And how I got involved with zAmya is one day one of my friends, that's a part of the theater world and the art world, she was like, come with me. I'm gonna show you what my day is like. So she brought me to one of the workshops, and then I never left.
Are you talking about Stacy, Annette?
Stacy,
I
of
love Stacy.
course.
Stacy is awesome.
And even our story is interesting because we were intertwined through a sweater. I left a sweater at her house, and it took like a few years for me to get this.
That's, I just like the way you phrase that. Just intertwined by a sweater. You belong in theater. Had you done any performance before?
So my last year of for my bachelor's degree, I decided to take the arts. So I hadn't done performance yet. I took a voice class, creative writing, and playwright. I took playwright once. So I have a full play written as well, and even learning how to write about art. So I just said, I'm gonna make it fun. And I really enjoyed even doing the play scenes, writing the play, and also the voice class. I really enjoyed those.
Oh wow, yeah.
So before that, I haven't had any experience in the play world.
That's amazing. You're brave. You're brave. And Lurch, tell us a little bit about you and how you got involved.
Well, I got involved because I was staying in Harbor Lights, and when you're there and you have nothing to do, sometimes you just wander around. And I was wandering around there, and this little wisp of a friend of mine, Abby, walks up to me, grabs me in the arm, and says, "Hey, you're gonna play my brother in a skit." And I'm like, I'm not doing anything else. Why not? So she drags me in there. I ended up playing her brother and a security guard in this little the skits and pieces thing we did in Harbor Lights. One of my very first things. And I mean, when I found the group, and it's like I was around people who they accepted me no matter what I did or who I was, as long as I was being a decent person, they accepted me. And that's one thing in this world that a lot of people can't find, is that simple frame of acceptance and be able to tell stories they need to tell.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as much as it's the stories that you need to tell, it's the stories that people need to hear. And I thank you both for your generosity and sharing your stories. I think that's. And how long have you been involved?
Me, I've been involved 5 or 6 years now. I believe 5 or 6 years, yeah.
Okay.
And with me, it made 2 years in July.
Nice. So what are some of your, I'm cheating a little bit because we were talking to Lurch a little bit before we started to record, but tell us some of the highlights of your involvement.
So for me, it's actually being able to have connections with people. And even when we do the library, it's like it can be different people all the time. And sometimes people just want to come in and they just start talking. And then I say, we have to allow a space for that, because sometimes people don't get to talk to anybody. So when they come in and just start talking, even though we're in a group, sometimes you just have to allow the listening, and then they may carry on or go on somewhere else.
That is a generosity of spirit that I'm going to try to carry through to my next tomorrow. That, I think that it's a gift to allow people that time and to tell their stories. That's very,
yeah. We don't know what they're doing, and we don't know what has happened along the way. Mm-hmm. And then since it's early in the morning, we don't know what they're coming from the night before. So it's just like allowing some freedom there without sometimes getting uptight about it. It's like just be at peace.
I feel that way, especially during COVID. I try to give people more room, more space, and I'm thankful when they do the same for me. 'Cause some days not the best day, you know,
Yeah.
for all of
Yeah.
us. For all of us. So that's, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And Lurch, what are some of your highlights, do you think?
I mean, I have a few things that I really, really love. Is some of my favorite moments are when we've done a play and we start to talk back, and you just hear these people. They hear the story and they automatically go, "I've lived this. This is something I know. This has been part of my life." And then you get to hear their story, and then of course it's the moments. It's the moments on stage when everything just goes so right. Even if it goes wrong, it goes right. And you're like, you stay there with the plotting. You're like, we missed every other line, but they loved it, so we're happy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The audience never knows the line you missed.
No.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
but we do.
Has there been a particular person or conversation that has stuck out or affected in a positive way that you connected with through doing this?
I would say all the troop members, and when we do the different performances, like we did Southwest Minnesota, so I was one of the ones who was in Southwest Minnesota, and just connecting with each of the audiences and allowing the responses, like Lurch was talking about, the talkbacks,
Mhm.
and just hearing like the history and what's behind some of these small towns as well, and just connecting with people throughout. That's what I feel like is really, really big for me.
Well, I remember you guys I'm going to get the wrong, Prairie Homeless Companion. Was that the one
Correct.
that traveled?
Yes.
That was the latest one, yeah. That was the latest road trip. Before that, it was just us.
Sorry,
It
before
was
that
what?
it was
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Before that, it was just us.
just us.
Oh,
I was waiting for
Yeah.
just us. I do remember, yeah. I remember that, and I remember did one that was Wizard of Oz theme.
That was before my time.
Was it before? Okay, yeah, maybe
And
that's
that one's really, really, really old. That's like original zAmya crew cast.
Are you calling out my age?
No,
No, I'm just teasing.
you're young for how old this world is.
How how do you, when you collect everybody's stories, and then do you try to think of a framework like the Wizard of Oz, like the Prairie Homeless Companion,
Well,
like some of the others?
usually we have a writer on staff that does. Usually we have a writer that's at these sessions that puts all the material together. So it's usually the writer doing all that,
Nice.
Mhm.
but they're still capturing the spirits of all these voices put together in this one beautiful package, this one beautiful story that we can tell.
can I ask a question or go back? When the writers, do they ask, like, do you have a story about this topic, or just in general, do you have something you want to share? How do you go about that?
Through games and
So,
exercises. Through
Oh,
games
sorry.
and exercises. For example, Annette, you want to name a few?
Okay, so she's talking about the writing part.
She's talking about how we gather the stories.
Yeah, and so I was gonna say how we gather the stories. So, okay, so well, from my experience, what I've seen, how they gather the stories is once everybody comes together, yeah, and we do the games and everything. Yet it's like they come up with a subject. And so there's several workshops that go into the writings. And so at each workshop, is some writings done, and they come up with like a different subject sometimes. You think, is that right, Lurch?
Yeah, that we usually come up with several prompts and we'll sit down and write them. Or we'll play a game called That Reminds Me, where people basically tell stories and interrupt each other and start telling stories, and we kind of collect stories that way too. So like we'll have someone talking about something, someone will say, that reminds me, and they'll come in with another story, and we'll collect all those stories as well. And we collect these stories through many different games and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I think of what a community that must build. So I know at my family table, if you started with that reminds me, you'd get I'm talking, you must really be able to bounce off each other.
Yes.
Some days that reminds me is a very, very fruitful exercise, and we get some amazing stories. Some days, like in all things, it just veers right off the track, but it's still fun. It's still fun, and we still follow all of our base values.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to quiz you, and I was trying to look to find this out myself before, but I know that you guys have 7 agreements of working together.
Yes, well, I do. In fact, I have them on my fridge. Let me bring them up to you.
I was looking
at most of them.
I think that credo myself, there are a couple of them that I try to remind myself of, and some are harder for me than others.
Yeah, I remember most of them.
Nice. All right, Lurch, you might have to read those to us. So
the first one is stay focused and engaged.
We can do a popcorn, Lurch, because I can remember without looking.
Okay, throw it out there then.
Remember why we are here.
Assume good intentions.
Have fun.
I was gonna say I know one, but you
cultivate an attitude of gratitude.
Remember our impact on ourselves, each other, and the community.
It's noticed, but pretty close.
Oh, noticed.
And I believe there's one that was missed. And no, maybe. I think, stay focused and engaged?
I think you said that one.
Yep.
Oh, I think we got them all then. Because we did have fun. We did treat each other equally. That's what I missed.
Okay.
Treat each other equally.
Yeah, I think that's all 7.
That's all 7 right there.
It's always the hard one for me. I always remember that. And
it's just remembering them all.
Well,
I think you muted yourself.
Who, me?
No.
And?
Because
now
I don't hear anything.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Nope.
We can't hear you.
Go ahead without me.
I don't know what she's saying.
Uh-oh, she's going to write it down for us.
She might add to the list there.
We can hear you.
Okay. It's my computer. It happened once before. So okay, can you hear me now?
We can hear you
you're
now.
just softer.
I'll step closer. If it happens again, I'll just do audio by my phone.
Okay.
How I was going to write that, some charades.
Charades.
I was going to say we're in good company for that.
Exactly.
They would outshine me hands down.
Yeah.
Well,
thank you for reading those 7 agreements, because I just think that it's a credo. It's kind of a rules for life that I try to remember myself, even just having gone to so many of the shows. I think that it helps so much.
Mm-hmm.
It's lived on my fridge ever since this was written out for me one day by one of the senior troop members. He wrote them out because I couldn't remember them all, and I was like, I just kept the piece of paper since.
Nice. It's a good reminder.
It is.
Yes.
Now, you both have been,
How, oh,
sorry, I was
Go
gonna, you
ahead,
both
Ann.
have been involved with the summer productions. And the summer
Right.
productions have been different because of COVID, but can I have either of you tell me a little bit about the news
H&N,
network, Homeless
the
News Network?
H&N. Yeah.
Oh, that is my pet project. The idea, it is literally my pet project. It's my the idea came. I had the idea about 2 years ago, and it's been a lot of fun. We've been doing live shows on the last 5 or 6 shows were all live on Facebook. And it's been immense fun seeing, like, learning to work in this new weird environment, because it's really awkward to try and go to the left because everyone's left is a different person, or to the right and everyone's right's a different person. But it's been a lot of fun to learn, and the Homeless News Network was amazing. We had some of the best people come in and help with the newspaper theater pieces.
Mm-hmm.
The news headlines were amazing. The whole thing was awesome. It was absolutely an amazing experience.
Well, and I want to let people know that the archive is all available on the website.
It's available on the website. All the episodes are also available on the YouTube. So you can find them on either the YouTube or the Facebook page.
Okay.
And hopefully hopefully there'll be a season 2.
What do you mean, hopefully? I'm kind of looking forward to it.
It may just be a little different. It may look.
It may be a little different, but there will most likely be a season 2 of HNN.
Nice, nice. Now, for folks who haven't seen it, can you just talk us through the format of how that's gone a little bit?
It's called Homeless News Network. It's kind of like this Saturday Night Live skit news show, where I'm rarely seen in it because I'm the background virtual DJ,
Okay.
and we will bounce between, like, different clip segments from newspaper theater pieces to recorded newspaper article reading, and it's very informative. It's very fun, and it's very good. It's a very good watch, and it's only like 25 minutes long, 20 to 25 minutes long each episode.
Yeah. And Annette, you were on those as well. I'm
Correct.
remembering correctly. Yeah.
Correct.
How different was it being online as opposed to being in person? As you said, you can't all go to the right, go to the right, go to the left. But how did you learn to handle it?
For a while, it's like I was fighting this Zoom thing because I'm like, I don't want to be on a computer. Yet I'm in a leadership program, and it's like 9 months, and this is the first time they're doing it on Zoom. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna have to suck this up.
Yep.
And I think because I'm like very connected to like my people, my children and my grandbabies. Yet it's and I have a few friends that I see that, that we've like built over time. So through all this, I still think that human connection is a must. It has to take place at some point.
Yeah.
It can't just be like,
I agree with you 100 on that. I feel like our work is so human connected that is the biggest challenge with Zoom, is that we rely, we part of the soul of zAmya is that connection with every human, saying this is what we do. We are here to be part of this community, to support this community, to stand by this community.
Mm-hmm.
And that's I think the biggest part of our mission in the end all be all to me, is we're here to stand with and by, and not just be on the outskirts saying this is what's going on.
I'm writing that down.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's an interesting, it feels like a community. Even though I'm not, I don't go to the workshops, I'm not part of the theater company, but I've seen enough of the shows where I recognize people, and I really enjoy going there. And it is, you do get, there is a feeling of family when you're in the room, you can even if sometimes you feel like it's like maybe the in-laws, so maybe not which is sometimes better because nobody, you don't have any 30-year-old beef with anybody in the room, what that sense of community is, but I think that you guys have done an amazing job of moving that online. I've seen a few shows from a different theater companies in town doing Zoom shows, and yours is the one that I maybe enjoy the most.
Thank you
so much. That's a great honor to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like it feels like it's a little bit improv, it's a little bit but planned improv, and that's and I don't know. Did I read that you have sort of workshops earlier in the week, and then, I mean, do you have a show to practice for the show? How, on a practical basis, how do you do that? How do you handle the rehearsals and the prep?
So it depends. So we worked on this prior with our partners for the newspaper piece, and then each week they came up with a piece, and one of us presented, one of us led it and ended the show. So then there was a piece in there about each person.
Nice.
And I don't know, Lurch, you can add in.
I mean, this is kind of what I see, what my experience was with it. We had the newspaper theater pieces. Each of us troupe members were paired with a guest artist or guest theater person. And each week of the show, we had a different person introduce and kind of close it with how that moment how that kind of felt to them. We even brought in archive clips where it was like, we showed old show clips where, like, for example, there was mine was with Just Us, where we were hanging out where we did Just Us down in one of the cities going up to, I can't think of cities that saved my life.
I'm trying to think, Grand Rapids or Bemidji.
Yeah, we did Grand Rapids. We went up to Brainerd. We went all the way up to Brainerd with Just Us. And we did the housing convention up there for the homeless. And I just remembered that show, but we did a show like that, and it was just watching back those clips and hearing this and feeling those stories. It was amazing to see it afterward, because you can't really see yourself when you're on stage. You're only experiencing it from that one perspective.
The parts that I've seen, and I'll tell you, the shows this summer are on Fridays, and I have a standing date with my dad on Fridays for lunch, so I saw a couple of them, and I've seen a few of them archived. But I really enjoyed the parts where you'd show a vignette, a video from someone else from days gone by, and then somebody would talk about the experience of doing it. I thought that was fascinating. Because you said, I hadn't really thought about it. Of course, you've only experienced it from the stage point of view, not from the audience point of view. But hearing the actors, hearing the performers talk about the experience now is fascinating. I mean, just
No, I was just saying that yeah, it's like even different for us doing certain shows, because some shows hit even a lot closer to home, and even with the Prairie Homeless Companion, just knowing like the statistics of even knowing that they don't really have the shelter in the housing, and even what's happening to families along the way.
I think the biggest thing that hit me was Don Walls. I knew him, I met him, and I knew him for the little bit of time I did. he was one of the most amazing people I've ever met. He was so artistic. And that was the show before the final episode 8, and we had a clip with him in it, and it just like it hit me to the heart just to see him tell that story, and he was just like so artistic, and he was so there. It was heartbreaking. No, he's no longer there.
Well, for folks who know, you might have to tell us a little bit about his story and the story he was telling at the time.
He was telling the story of a homeless guy who was disabled, who died out in the cold, and he was just talking about how they gave him everything, but it still didn't really help him in the end. He still ended up dying in the cold. And he walks out with his photograph, and he tells the story. Your eyes are just drawn to him. You're instantly, all you see is him right at that moment, and you're like, you're enraptured by that single moment of him coming out and just telling the story, and it's really, really heartbreaking story.
Obviously many of the stories many of them, they're heartbreaking and they're heartwarming, and when you're on stage, is it easier to do it when it's your own story, or is it easier to act more of a role that you may or may not be a part of?
I don't know. I said my own story.
I would say I have more stake in my own. I would say it's hard to tell other people's story, because I know I can tell my own story. I know my story well. But there's always this fear that you have when you're on stage, that you're going to tell someone else's story wrong, when all we're up there is to do the justice to the stories we're telling.
Well, when you're telling somebody else's story, it may almost be like the movie, or like like the movies and stuff, how you actually have to really get into the space with that person and look over it, and to actually even become the character in there. And sometimes even when you haven't been affected by certain things that's in the story, you still have to tell it with humanity.
Sorry, I'm writing that down because you guys are so good. Hey,
Thank you.
that is what's so powerful about the group, I think. As you say, it comes down to the stories, and it's kind of doing justice to the people whose stories you're telling, and and when you're telling stories to the people, I just think that's you play an important role in society, being the voice piece, for all of these stories that people might not hear otherwise.
I honestly feel like we're one of the few theaters that can honestly change the political view, the view of the world. We've reached people, we've reached senators, we've reached politicians, we've reached really far into the world, into the higher powers up there. We have, and I've had the honor of meeting some of the most amazing people. I don't remember her name, but it was the first trans.
Andrea Jenkins?
Yeah, Jenkins. I remember meeting her. She was an amazing individual, amazing person. And we had the honor of meeting and performing in front of her. That was truly heartwarming.
Heartwarming and policy changing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that people can take in information as a story more easily than they can. As you said, I can't remember if it Lurcher or Annette, but hearing the numbers that you give through many of the shows, you do give statistics and you do give information, which I think is valuable, especially when you have the policymakers there. But I think it's the stories behind it that really. Isn't that getting a call?
I mean, like, you called me right in the middle of
Being interviewed.
It's a Zoom thing. It's a Zoom thing.
It's a Zoom thing. Exactly. Now, talk about having an influence. Did you feel like that you made an impact? Because I think the experience of homelessness is different, I think, in Minneapolis than it is in Brainerd.
Absolutely.
it is.
I mean, no matter where you go, I think everyone's story of homelessness is going to be different no matter what. Just because we all take in information and we all react differently in situations. There's some people that know how to camp and know how to light fires and do that, and that's how they go and become homeless. There's some people that know nothing, and they're just wandering the streets looking for whatever piece of advice they can, even if it's misguided or wrong. Or right, and takes them where they need to be. And it all depends on the person and just knowing. It all depends on each person's journey through homelessness.
I would say, yeah, I would say I would agree with that, because some people you don't even know that they're homeless, and then others. So I used to drive a city bus and operate the rail. And on some of the routes that run early in the morning, like the 16, when those routes started, and it's like we had like all the people would be on our buses, and even when we switched to the 94, and it's like, what are you gonna do? Like, put the people off the bus? Like, even when it was cold. And so no, yet it almost comes down to who has the right of way of being on the buses. Because it's like they have paid their fare, yet they haven't repaid fare again. And sometimes they go back and forth. And those that are going to work, of course, they pay their fare. And it's just like this different. It's like we're all human. We're all connected.
Humanity is a lost word nowadays, I think, with all this, everything having to be divided by this injustice or that injustice, or all of this.
It is never lost, because we are still human beings, no matter what.
Well, not lost, but it gets mucked up sometimes.
Don't let them do that to your mind.
My mind is fine. I just see truth.
Well, I mean, well, you know what? I say that we still have to just stick it out there. And even though society may try to cover over or whatever, that's just what it is. So the other day when I was in the store, I don't know, I just had this laughing moment because I just think about, like, what it's like when we don't have the mask on, and what it's going to be like when the masks all come off, and what we look like now in the store. Just like a whole bunch of people. And I'm like, what do the kids, what do the babies and stuff think?
Right? Or pets. When you walk up outside and you have this mask all over your face, the pets are like, what is happening?
I normally wear one of those things that go around your neck that you put over the thing like that, gaiters.
Yeah.
I always put that thing on and I'm like, I'm going to rob a train. Let's go rob a train, people. I was like, it feels so awesomely absurd, but it's still completely disturbing at the same time.
It is. And I'm even with See, I think they really named it wrong when they said social distancing because we're all on social networks connecting. It's physical distancing and social togetherness.
Ooh, that's good.
I know you guys are getting me right in my,
I know. I hope I get a copy of your notes here.
yeah.
I kind of want to hang out and listen to you're talking and you're getting your stories because you guys are fascinating and uplifting
Well, thank
and
you.
honest. Yes.
Thank you. We would love for you to come.
Absolutely, you're always welcome.
Well, here's your opportunity to tell anybody who's listening, how would somebody get involved?
We have a workshop tomorrow at 3 o'clock. I believe it should be on the library Facebook page. I don't know exactly where they post the link, but there should be a link for Zoom that you can join. Anyone can join at 3 o'clock tomorrow.
Zoom. Okay.
Via Zoom right now, we're doing workshops. And like I said, 3 o'clock tomorrow, we'll be starting our workshop. It'll be yeah. And I'm sure it's posted other places. I'm not sure exactly where off the top of my head. It might be, is it on our Facebook, Annette?
I'm not sure if it's on our Facebook. Yeah, it may be there. It's just I haven't been looking on the Facebook.
Okay, I do know we have it advertised through the library, the downtown library. We have advertised through a few of the local people around here, local groups, and it's definitely and it's advertised in a lot of shelters.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you can definitely probably find it through the library.
And we're talking Minneapolis Library.
Minneapolis
Correct.
Town Library.
Do you do your workshops like once a week or what is?
Once a week.
Okay.
Once a week at 3 o'clock on, I believe it's tomorrow, which is tomorrow's
on
Tuesday,
Tuesdays?
right?
Yes.
Yeah, Tuesday,
Tuesday, you just said it, 2 o'clock?
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock. I
3.
knew I was getting that wrong.
3 o'clock.
Sometimes you know it's wrong and you still say it. And those are open to, as you said,
Anyone.
people who've experienced homelessness, people who haven't, people who just have a curiosity. Because watching the online stuff, the homeless network news stuff that you were doing, and you said a lot of it is it really kind of lifted you up because somebody would have an idea of I think there was something like keeping on or keeping in or keeping up or something, and people would talk about, and I thought, well, that'd make a person feel better. Some of these days, it is that human connection that I think we miss.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think I know for me, as Annette, as you said, I Zoom with my parents, I see my kids, I all of that part of it, but I miss the connection of people that I used to see in the grocery store, and now I don't recognize them. Or, but you used to see them here, you used to see them there. Just that community of people that but they're maybe not your most inner circle people. That is a group that I miss in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So when all this stuff first happened, I was so resistant to it. I was like, what the crap is this? And then it's like all of a sudden they just forced the mask on everybody, and I was like, oh my gosh. And so it's still sometimes like this conflict of I know it talks about safety, and I'm like, how long is safety? And if you keep something enclosed, what's really gonna happen when you open it back up? So it's just like this.
There's a lot of mixed feelings. I agree with that. There's a lot of mixed feelings.
It is. I don't know. And I don't know. I even traveled doing this for like a whole month. Me and one of my friends, we did a spiritual journey. And so it was just like, woo.
Where did you journey to?
We went into Nebraska, well, South Dakota, Nebraska, Colorado, California, they, well, we drove through Arizona. We went Utah, so we did some camping, Nevada, California, and then up across the top again. So Washington, Montana.
Whoa.
Yeah, so we like traveled through this whole period of time. And some of the states was just opening up as we got through.
Sure.
And some of the smaller towns, they would let us like eat in their restaurants. So it was like just seeing like the differences, because Colorado had just opened up as we was coming in, and like people was flooding to the restaurants. And in California, like on the beaches, you didn't see no masks. Like it was very few people that had masks. I'm like, on the beach, yeah, that's probably not really where you go see.
Yeah, I suppose it's a very, we said there are lots of differing opinions on that one, but the one,
Yeah.
and my day job is working with technology, and people have talked about how all of this has really forced us, you know, who had been on a Zoom call before 2020? You know, not many
Oh,
people.
I have.
Yeah. Well, yeah, well, for work, but it's, you know, I think that we've learned how to adapt to the technology so fast, but this opens the door then. Now you could have people from Brainerd or Grand Rapids or participate in some of the groups. You know, you can bring yourself to a wider audience. It's not as much fun as going there to do the show, but but you could on a more regular basis start building connections with people in different communities.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I also partially feel like one of the biggest things with zAmya is literally that connection of being in the space with the people. So I don't think we'll ever be as powerful or as connected on Zoom as we are in person, doing workshops or doing any of this.
Mm-hmm.
And I do appreciate the fact that it exists just because we can keep doing our work, and that's a giant blessing in itself.
Well, and then too, it's so the leadership program I'm in, it's not only locally and nationally, it's also internationally.
Ooh.
So it encompasses a great amount of people. And so even when we're able to go back to, we don't know what it's going to be called then, because it's not norm. That won't
No.
ever be. And
Right.
we don't even want it to be normal anymore, ever. Whatever normal was, we don't want that.
If it ever
We just,
existed. If it
what'd you
ever
say?
existed. If it ever existed, yeah.
Well, yeah.
We don't know what that is. Yet, I feel like it should still be made available for those that aren't able to do the traveling.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, and that is a nice, I mean, that you know, geographic barrier is just one of many that prevent people from being in the space. I think you're both right that to be in a room together is, I mean, that, you know, we know now, we never appreciated it enough before. Now we know that's the nirvana, you know, but being able to open it up to people outside, so that's one of the reasons that I just really, I don't know how I managed to see some of your summer stuff, because as I said, I've got a standing date on Fridays with my dad, but I was thought, and I was like, oh, this is such good stuff. Such good stuff. It's
the final episode of H&N was one of my personal favorites because they did a whole 7-minute long retrospective of zAmya. And that was the most incredible video I've seen us put up on that.
It was, and I could remember a lot of those shows. I won't push my own judgment. Also, I think there was a little bit on how to vote if you're experiencing homelessness. I appreciated that piece of that show too very much. That was, he's taking on some social justice issues too, which is great. Which is great. Okay. So what is going to happen in the future? Do you know with zAmya? I won't ask you in the world. That's too much to take on. But
Well, we're going to continue on performing, continue creating, and hopefully we're unlocking other doors. I'll just leave it like that.
Hopefully someday soon.
Ooh.
Hopefully someday soon we'll be back in person. For now, we're going to try and continue. Hopefully soon, once everything goes through, there will probably be a second season of HNN coming out. That's something to really look forward to. We have other things are cooking and are still cooking right now and trying to be figured out. But there's a lot coming and we're still really busy.
Good.
So just keep an eye on you can join we have a newsletter we put out right off of our we have a home site. You can go and you can get our newsletter. It gives you a monthly update of everything we do, everything that's coming. I mean, you can like us on the Facebook page. You will get updates every time something pops up.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot coming, and there's a lot to be looking out for.
All right. So they've got a website. They've got Facebook they can go to. The workshops on Tuesdays at 3 o'clock, and probably
Correct.
find out about those either on your Facebook page or on the Minneapolis Public Library page.
Yep.
I'm going to think about that unlocking doors line from Annette there. I feel like there was a hint, something in there. And Lurch, you're telling us that they're around 2 of the homeless neighborhood network. I'm getting it wrong now.
Homeless News Network.
Homeless News Network. I knew I was getting one of those letters wrong. That we can look forward to seeing some of those in the future, although they may be a little different, but
they may be a little different, but they'll still be just as good.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe better. Who knows?
maybe better. Let's shoot for
wait
that.
to see.
Awesome. Annette, Lurch, thank you so much for joining us. This has been, it's fun for me to talk to some people that I've seen on stage. You know, I have a little stage struck, so thank you so much for your time. And it's, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just finished a huge project, 50-50. I might just be there in the middle of the workday tomorrow or 3 o'clock. You never know. Stranger things. So.
Stranger things.
Yeah.
It was an honor for us to come and join you.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening. Thank you.
You too.
Fabulous.
Thank you.
All right.